Do you know where Byzantine liturgy comes from? From a city called Byzantium, which later became Constantinople and later became Istanbul. Okay, it was also known as the Golden City. It was the center of Christianity for so long. And it had become such an important cultural crossroads and center that Constantine, already conscious of in the beginning of the 4th century that there was like what they considered an east and the west side of the empire, okay, and sometimes the east and west had been divided already for ruling east and west. They started to recognize we're speaking less and less Greek in the west, more and more Latin. And so there's already starts a little cultural split. He decides, but in fact, Constantinople is more important, politically, maybe religiously as well. It's more important bishops and life of the church that's east than in Rome. So he says, well, it's a better strategy if I just move the capital of the empire to Byzantium, and he renames it Constantinople. Okay, and so there's still going to be a life of the empire in Rome and in the Western Empire, but that Eastern Christianity is going to, at least the influence of the Greeks is going to expand really quickly with the mother of Constantine, whose name was Helen, to the Holy Land. Okay, and in Palestine, the Holy Land had been influenced by a lot of different Christianities, especially the Syrian Christianity was the main form in the west, in the east. But Helen is going to root Greek culture and Greek Christianity in the Holy Land. She built all kinds of churches already during her lifetime in the Holy Land. So Constantinople is kind of an interesting center because it's kind of halfway between Rome and Jerusalem, these two important centers. It also just crossed the sea from Alexandria, another important center, and down the coast from Antioch. Okay, so that was a Christian world, and Constantinople kind of in the center was this new important seat of Christianity. And that lasted for hundreds of years. And even as the Muslim invasions came, they didn't succeed in taking Constantinople, okay? And the Crusaders were the first ones to breach the walls of Constantinople and to sack its churches, destroy its icons, steal its relics, so that's another story, and that's a big wound in the relationship east to west. But just to think of Byzantium today, it's so insignificant now that the Turks have not only been ruling there a long time, but have really purged it of its Greeks and of its Christianity. It's really awful just to think the heritage that was there in Asia Minor of Christian life. And so we look back upon a golden age of Christianity. God forbid, but perhaps one day we'll look back upon Rome and Italy in this way as well. Maybe Rome will be completely secularized or Islamicized or what have you. But the rest of Europe, for that matter, right? But we look back upon that life, no matter what it is today, even though the bishop of Constantinople is still today, there's not much left, but we still look at that as a golden age of Christianity, when the life flourished around Constantinople. That was the second time, let's say, that a ruler said, hey, I'm really going to support Christianity with political moves and economy, not necessarily forcing it, but I'm going to give a day off, for example, on the day that Christians want to worship. That's huge, right? You can build churches. Wow, before, the only place they could build churches in a real public way before that 4th century move was in Armenia in the 3rd century. It just is hard for us to imagine what Christianity was like in those centuries leading up to the 4th century. But certainly there were already a lot of different liturgical developments before then. The Syrians, farther east in what today is Iran, or what they called Persia or Chaldea, the Chaldean Christians, the Chaldean church. Nestorians, who we consider heretics, but still Christian, right? And the different sects that perhaps led into Islam. Some might consider Islam a heresy of Christianity. That's an interesting history to dive into. But also Egypt, right? Super important Christianity Ethiopia, another brand of Christianity, or even India, right? Rediscovering the Thomas Christians. We're like, wow, hey, how they worship is kind of similar to the Syrians. It's like the primitive prayers that. So Christianity spread and naturally developed different, what we call today, rites, okay? And unfortunately, some of those considered heretics, some still considered heretics today. Others have really reconciled and said, no, we just had a question of language and definition of terms. And today, there's a lot of, most Catholics and Orthodox really say, Armenians, Egyptians, Ethiopians, we all really believe in the same thing, and it's too bad that we considered each other as heretics at some crucial times when the Persians or the Muslims ran over a country and the other countries didn't come to defend because they considered them as heretics, right? So I think today we so want to reappreciate and take stock of in a new way what we have in common and not be divided as Christians. And I communicate that same message for living in the Holy Land where there's 1.5% Christians. When I come back to America and just feel this, the Protestants, keep them away from me, or even the Mormons, like, okay, Mormons, I know it's really weird, but shoot, they really have Christian values and they like Jesus, and so to take advantage of what we have in common. So especially today, we want to appreciate what we have in common with not just these Eastern rites, but what kind of brought these Eastern rites together, the liturgy that was inaugurated in the 4th century, along with the theological articulations of the councils of the 4th, 5th century, right? Or just the life of the church, the monasticism, or the way of structuring. And there's so much that happened in that 4th century that was aware of what else had happened up to that point. Okay, and that was that flourishing society that really was a foundation for what we call the Roman Church today, okay? It was united then, okay? And then our Roman Rite evolved out of that. And so that's what we mean by Byzantine.